The morning sun cast long shadows across Camp Pendleton as Corporal Jake Matthews walked his usual patrol route along the outer fence. The California Marine Base was waking up slowly, with only the early risers out for their morning runs and the essential personnel manning their posts. Jake had been stationed here for 2 years now, and he knew every inch of this perimeter like the back of his hand. As he rounded the corner near the east gate, something unusual caught his eye. A large German shepherd sat perfectly still about 50 feet away, just outside the fence line. The dog wasn't moving, wasn't panting, just sitting there like a statue, staring directly at him. Jake had seen plenty of stray dogs around the area before, but this one was different. There was something almost military about the way it sat at attention. Jake approached the fence slowly, not wanting to startle the animal. As he got closer, he could see that this wasn't just any stray dog. The German shepherd was magnificent, with thick black and tan fur that looked well maintained despite clearly living rough. Its ears were erect and alert, and its intelligent brown eyes followed Jake's every movement. But what really caught Jake's attention was what the dog was carrying in its mouth. It was a combat boot. A military-issued combat boot, and it was covered in what looked like dried blood. Jake stopped dead in his tracks. His training kicked in immediately, and his hand instinctively moved toward his radio, but something about the dog's behavior made him pause. The German shepherd wasn't aggressive or threatening. If anything, it seemed to be trying to communicate something. It dropped the boot at its feet and nudged it forward with its nose, then looked back up at Jake with those piercing eyes. "What do you have there, boy?" Jake said softly, crouching down to get a better look through the chain-link fence. The dog's tail gave a small wag at the sound of his voice, but it remained focused on the boot. Jake could now see that the blood wasn't fresh, but it was definitely human blood, and there was a lot of it. Jake keyed his radio. "Control, this is Matthews at Sector 7. I need a supervisor out here immediately. We might have a situation." Within minutes, Sergeant Rodriguez arrived in a jeep followed by base security. The German shepherd hadn't moved an inch, still sitting patiently beside the bloodied boot like a loyal soldier waiting for orders. "What do we have, Matthews?" Rodriguez asked as he stepped out of the vehicle. Jake explained the situation while pointing to the dog and the boot. Rodriguez studied the scene carefully, his years of experience evident in the way he assessed potential threats and unusual situations. "That's definitely one of ours," Rodriguez said, examining the boot through the fence. "Size 11 recent issue." "The blood?" He paused, pulling out his binoculars for a closer look. "That's a lot of blood, Matthews. Too much for a minor injury." The German shepherd seemed to sense their interest and picked up the boot again, carrying it a few steps closer to the fence. Then it did something that made both Marines freeze. The dog began to whine softly and started walking back and forth along the fence line, still carrying the boot as if trying to lead them somewhere. "Sir, I think this dog is trying to tell us something," Jake said. "Look at the way it's acting. That's not normal behavior for a stray." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Get the gate open, Matthews. I want to see what this is about." As Jake opened the pedestrian gate, the German shepherd immediately approached them, dropping the boot at Rodriguez's feet. Up close, they could see that the dog was in better condition than most strays, though it was clearly tired and had been traveling for some time. Its paws were worn and dusty, and there were small cuts on its legs from rough terrain. Rodriguez carefully picked up the boot, using his gloves to avoid contaminating any potential evidence. The boot was definitely military issue, and the blood was concentrated around the ankle area and up the side. There was also something else, something that made Rodriguez's blood run cold. Scratched into the leather, barely visible but definitely there, were 3 letters. SOS. "Matthews, get on the radio right now. I want every available unit mobilized. This dog didn't just find this boot, it brought it here for a reason. Someone's in trouble and they managed to send us a message." The German shepherd seemed to understand that they were taking action. It began to pace excitedly, looking back toward the hills behind the base and then back at the Marines. The message was clear: "Follow me." Rodriguez made a quick decision that would change everything. "We're going to trust this dog, Matthews. I've seen enough in my 20 years to know when something's not right. Get me a search and rescue team, medical support, and contact the MPs. We might have a missing person situation on our hands." As the base sprang into action, the German shepherd sat down again, this time closer to the Marines. It had delivered its message, and now it was waiting to guide them to whoever needed help. Jake knelt down and extended his hand toward the dog, who sniffed it briefly before allowing Jake to pet its head. "Good boy," Jake said quietly. "You did good bringing this to us. Now we need you to show us where you found it." The dog's tail wagged once, and Jake could swear he saw understanding in those intelligent eyes. This wasn't just a random stray dog. This was a dog with a mission, and somehow it knew that it had found the right people to help. Within 30 minutes, Camp Pendleton was buzzing with activity. Search and rescue teams were gearing up. Medical personnel were on standby, and the German Shepherd had become the most important asset they had. But nobody was prepared for what they were about to discover, or how this one dog's determination would expose a situation that had been developing for days without anyone knowing. The bloodied boot was just the beginning. As Rodriguez examined it more closely, he found additional evidence that someone had been in serious trouble and had managed to use their last moments of consciousness to send a desperate plea for help through the most unlikely messenger possible. The question now was whether they would be in time to save whoever had sent this four-legged SOS signal, and what they would find when they followed the German Shepherd into the rugged terrain beyond the base. The search and rescue team assembled quickly in the base parking lot, their equipment loaded and ready. Captain Sarah Mitchell, the base's lead search coordinator, took charge of the operation. She had 20 years of experience in mountain rescue and had seen her share of unusual situations. But using a stray German Shepherd as their primary guide was definitely a first. "Listen up, everyone," Captain Mitchell addressed the team of 12 Marines and 2 medics. "We have a potential rescue situation. This dog appeared at our perimeter with a bloodied combat boot, and all evidence suggests someone is in serious trouble out there. The dog seems to know where it came from, so we're going to follow its lead." The German Shepherd stood calmly next to Jake, who had volunteered to be the dog's handler. The animal seemed to understand the gravity of the situation, remaining alert and focused despite all the activity around it. When Captain Mitchell knelt down to examine the dog more closely, she noticed something that the others had missed. "Look at this," she said, gently lifting the dog's left ear. "There's a faded tattoo here. Numbers and letters. This dog belonged to someone, probably military or law enforcement." The tattoo was partially worn away, but she could make out what looked like a K9 unit designation. Sergeant Rodriguez joined the group, having just finished coordinating with base command. "I've got authorization to extend our search beyond normal boundaries if necessary. The boot has been sent for analysis, but we're not waiting for results. Someone scratched SOS into the leather, and that blood is fresh enough to suggest this happened within the last 48 hours. The team loaded into 3 all-terrain vehicles, with Jake and the German Shepherd in the lead vehicle with Captain Mitchell. As soon as they drove through the base gates, the dog's demeanor changed dramatically. It became more alert, standing up in the vehicle and looking intently toward the hills. When they reached the point where the paved road ended, the dog began to whine softly and paw at the vehicle door. "This is where we start walking," Captain Mitchell decided. "The terrain ahead is too rough for vehicles anyway." The moment Jake opened the door, the German Shepherd jumped out and immediately began moving up a narrow trail that most people would never have noticed. The dog moved with purpose, occasionally stopping to make sure the team was following, but always heading in the same direction into the rugged mountains behind Camp Pendleton. For the first hour, they climbed steadily upward through scrubland and rocky terrain. The dog maintained a steady pace, never seeming confused about the route. Its nose was occasionally to the ground, but mostly it seemed to be following a path burned into its memory. The Marines began to realize they were dealing with an exceptionally intelligent animal. "Captain," called out Corporal Davies from the rear of the group, "this dog knows exactly where it's going. Look how it navigates around the rough spots and finds the easiest path for us to follow." Captain Mitchell nodded, watching the German Shepherd with growing respect. "This isn't its first time on this route. It's been back and forth multiple times, probably over several days." As they climbed higher, the landscape became more challenging. Steep ravines cut across their path, and loose rock made every step treacherous. But the German Shepherd never hesitated, finding safe crossing points and even waiting when the terrain became particularly dangerous for the humans following behind. 2 hours into the trek, the dog suddenly stopped and began acting differently. Instead of its steady forward progress, it started moving in a small circle, sniffing the ground intently. Jake knelt down beside it and saw what had caught the dog's attention. There were drops of dried blood on the rocks, and scattered nearby were pieces of torn fabric that matched military camouflage patterns. "We've got blood and fabric here," Jake called out to Captain Mitchell. "This might be where whatever happened started." The team spread out to search the immediate area, while the German Shepherd continued its investigation. Within minutes, they found more evidence. Corporal Martinez discovered scuff marks in the dirt that suggested someone had fallen or been dragged, and there were clear signs that a struggle had taken place. But the German Shepherd wasn't finished. After allowing the team a few minutes to document the scene, it began moving again, this time with even more urgency. The trail now led down into a steep canyon, and the dog's behavior became more agitated as they descended. "Whatever we're going to find, we're getting close," Captain Mitchell told her team. "Stay alert and be prepared for anything." The canyon walls rose up around them as they followed a narrow stream bed. The German Shepherd moved more cautiously now, often stopping to listen and test the air with its nose. The dog was clearly on high alert, and its tension was affecting the entire rescue team. Then, about 3 hours into their trek, the German Shepherd froze completely. It stood perfectly still for nearly a minute, ears forward, body tense. Then it looked back at Jake with an expression that was unmistakably urgent and began moving forward at a much faster pace. "Something's changed," Jake reported to Captain Mitchell. "The dog knows we're almost there." As they rounded a bend in the canyon, the German Shepherd suddenly broke into a run, heading toward what looked like a small cave opening in the canyon wall. The team hurried to keep up, their equipment clanking as they navigated the rocky terrain as quickly as they could manage. The dog reached the cave entrance and immediately began barking, but it wasn't an aggressive bark. It was the bark of a dog trying to communicate something important, almost like it was calling to someone inside the cave. Captain Mitchell reached the entrance first and immediately understood why the German Shepherd had brought them here. Inside the shallow cave, barely visible in the dim light, was a person lying motionless against the back wall. Even from the entrance, she could see that whoever it was had been there for some time and was in serious condition. "Medic!" she shouted, while the German Shepherd pushed past her into the cave. The dog went directly to the injured person and began gently nuzzling them, whining softly as if trying to wake them up. As the team's medics rushed forward with their equipment, Captain Mitchell got her first clear look at who the German Shepherd had led them to find. It was a young woman in torn military fatigues, unconscious and clearly severely injured. Her left boot was missing, explaining the bloodied boot that had started this entire rescue mission. But the biggest shock was yet to come. As the medics began their initial assessment, the injured woman stirred slightly and opened her eyes. When she saw the German Shepherd beside her, she managed to whisper just 2 words that would change everything the rescue team thought they knew about this situation. "Good boy, Rex." The medics immediately went to work on the injured woman, while Captain Mitchell tried to process what she had just heard. The German Shepherd, Rex, sat protectively beside his handler, occasionally licking her face gently as the medical team assessed her injuries. "We've got a female, approximately 25 years old, severe dehydration, possible internal injuries, and what looks like a broken leg," reported Corpsman Williams as he checked her vital signs. "She's been here at least 2 days, maybe more. Blood pressure is dangerously low, but she's responsive." The woman, despite her weakened condition, kept her eyes focused on Rex. She tried to speak again, but Captain Mitchell gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't try to talk right now. We're going to get you out of here. Just rest." But the woman shook her head weakly and managed to whisper, "Rex, he saved me. He's been bringing me water, keeping me warm at night." Captain Mitchell looked at the German Shepherd with new understanding. This wasn't just a dog that had found an injured person. This was a trained military working dog that had been taking care of his handler for days. And when he realized she needed more help than he could provide, he had made the incredible decision to seek help from the nearest military installation. As the medics prepared to move the injured woman, she gestured weakly toward a small backpack in the corner of the cave. My ID. Mission details." Jake carefully retrieved the backpack while Rex watched his every move. Inside, Captain Mitchell found military identification for Staff Sergeant Lisa Chen, a K-9 handler from Marine Corps Base Quantico. But what she found next made her blood run cold. There were mission orders dated 5 days ago, and they revealed that Sergeant Chen and Rex had been on a classified reconnaissance mission in this area when something had gone terribly wrong. "Sergeant Chen," Captain Mitchell said gently, "we're going to get you to medical care, but I need to know if there are any immediate threats in this area. Are you able to tell me what happened to you?" Sergeant Chen's eyes flickered with alarm, and she struggled to sit up despite the medic's attempts to keep her still. "The facility. We found it. They saw us." She was clearly fighting to stay conscious long enough to deliver critical information. Captain Mitchell realized they might be dealing with more than just a rescue situation. "What facility? Who saw you?" But Sergeant Chen had used the last of her strength. She slipped back into unconsciousness just as the medics finished stabilizing her for transport. Rex immediately moved closer to his handler, placing his head gently on her chest as if listening to her heartbeat. The rescue team worked efficiently to create a stretcher system that would allow them to carry Sergeant Chen back through the difficult terrain. But as they prepared to leave the cave, Rex began behaving strangely again. Instead of staying close to his handler as expected, he moved to the cave entrance and began looking back toward the deeper part of the canyon, whining softly. "What is it, boy?" Jake asked, following Rex's gaze. "Is there something else out there?" Captain Mitchell made a quick decision. "Davies, Martinez, take 2 others and get Sergeant Chen back to the vehicles. Contact base and tell them we need immediate medical evacuation, and that this may be connected to a classified mission. The rest of us are going to see what has Rex so concerned." As half the team began the careful journey back with the injured K-9 handler, Captain Mitchell, Jake, and 4 other Marines followed Rex deeper into the canyon. The dog moved with the same purposeful behavior as before, but now there was an added element of caution in his movements. After about 20 minutes of following the stream bed, Rex led them to a point where the canyon walls narrowed dramatically. Hidden behind a large boulder formation was something that explained everything about Sergeant Chen's mission and her injuries. It was a concealed entrance to what appeared to be an underground facility, partially camouflaged but clearly artificial. This is what they were looking for, Captain Mitchell realized. Chen and Rex discovered some kind of hidden installation out here. The entrance was well concealed, with natural rock formations hiding sophisticated metal doors that were slightly ajar. Rex approached the entrance but stopped several feet away, his body language indicating extreme caution. The dog had learned to be afraid of this place, and his behavior suggested danger. Jake examined the entrance more carefully and found evidence of recent activity. There were fresh tire tracks in the concealed area behind the rocks, and the electronic keypad beside the door showed recent use. "Captain, someone's been here recently, within the last day or 2. Captain Mitchell studied the situation carefully. This was clearly beyond the scope of a simple rescue mission, but they needed to understand what had happened to Sergeant Chen and whether there were ongoing threats. "Corporal Stevens, get back to radio range and contact base immediately. Tell them we've discovered what appears to be an unauthorized facility in the restricted area behind the base. We need bomb disposal, intelligence personnel, and a full security team out here immediately." While Stevens headed back toward higher ground to establish radio contact, Captain Mitchell and the remaining team members carefully examined the exterior of the facility. Rex stayed close to Jake, but his attention remained fixed on the partially open entrance. The dog's behavior suggested he had been here before and that something bad had happened. As they waited for reinforcements, Jake noticed something that made him call Captain Mitchell over immediately. "Ma'am, look at this." He was pointing to the ground near the facility entrance where there were clear signs of a struggle. Dried blood, scuff marks, and what looked like drag marks leading away from the entrance. This is where Sergeant Chen was injured, Captain Mitchell realized. She and Rex were discovered while investigating this place. Someone attacked her and left her for dead, not knowing that Rex would refuse to abandon his handler. Rex seemed to understand their conversation. He moved to the exact spot Jake had indicated and began sniffing the ground, then looked up at them with those intelligent eyes. The dog had witnessed his handler's attack and had spent the last several days taking care of her while trying to figure out how to get help. But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. As they waited for backup, Corporal Johnson made an observation that changed everything they thought they knew about this situation. "Captain, those tire tracks aren't from any military vehicle I recognize. And look at this." He held up a small piece of debris he'd found near the entrance. "This is high-end electronic equipment, but it's not U.S. military issue. The markings are foreign. Captain Mitchell examined the device fragment and felt a chill run down her spine. They weren't just dealing with an unauthorized facility on restricted land behind a Marine base. They had stumbled onto something much more serious, something that explained why Sergeant Chen and Rex had been sent on a classified reconnaissance mission, and why someone had been willing to kill to keep the secret. Rex had done more than save his handler's life. He had uncovered what appeared to be a foreign intelligence operation right in their backyard, and now it was up to them to make sure that Sergeant Chen's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. Within 2 hours, the remote canyon had transformed into a major military operation site. Helicopters circled overhead while specialized teams rappelled down the canyon walls. Intelligence officers, bomb disposal experts, and a full security detail had arrived to investigate what Rex had helped them discover. Colonel James Harrison, Camp Pendleton's commanding officer, arrived via helicopter and immediately took charge of the situation. He had been briefed on the basic facts during his flight, but seeing the sophisticated hidden facility firsthand made the gravity of the situation crystal clear. "Captain Mitchell, bring me up to speed on everything you've found," Colonel Harrison ordered as he examined the concealed entrance. Captain Mitchell provided a detailed report while Rex stayed close to Jake's side. The German shepherd had been quiet since the arrival of all the additional personnel, but his eyes never stopped scanning the area around the facility. Even with all the military personnel present, the dog remained on high alert. "Sir, based on the evidence we've collected and Sergeant Chen's partial report before she lost consciousness, it appears she and Rex were conducting surveillance on this facility when they were discovered. Someone attacked her and left her in that cave, probably assuming she would die from her injuries before anyone found her." Colonel Harrison nodded grimly. What they didn't count on was Rex's loyalty and intelligence. This dog kept his handler alive and then risked everything to get help. He looked at Rex with obvious respect. "Have we been able to learn anything more about the facility itself?" Before Captain Mitchell could answer, the bomb disposal team leader approached with his initial assessment. "Sir, this isn't just some random underground bunker. This is a sophisticated installation with advanced electronic security systems, climate control, and communication equipment. Someone spent serious money building this place, and they went to great lengths to keep it hidden." The team had also discovered that the facility extended much deeper underground than initially apparent. Ground-penetrating radar showed a complex network of tunnels and chambers that stretched for several hundred yards beneath the canyon floor. Colonel Harrison made a decision that would prove crucial. "I want this entire area secured and classified immediately. No one enters that facility until we have a complete intelligence assessment, and I want to talk to Sergeant Chen the moment the doctors clear her for questioning." Meanwhile, at the base hospital, Sergeant Chen was slowly recovering from her ordeal. The medical team had stabilized her condition, treating severe dehydration, internal injuries from the attack, and a badly broken leg. But what impressed everyone was her first request upon regaining consciousness. "Where's Rex?" she asked immediately. "Is he okay? He saved my life." Dr. Sarah Williams, the attending physician, assured her that Rex was safe and being cared for by the rescue team. "That dog is a hero, Sergeant. He kept you alive for 3 days and then somehow knew to bring help. We've never seen anything like it." Sergeant Chen managed a weak smile. "Rex is special. We've been partners for 2 years, and he's the smartest dog I've ever worked with. But what he did..." She paused, still amazed by Rex's actions. "He brought me water from the stream every few hours. He kept me warm at night, and when he realized I wasn't getting better, he made the decision to go for help on his own. As Sergeant Chen's condition improved, she was able to provide crucial intelligence about the hidden facility. Her reconnaissance mission had been prompted by suspicious activity detected by satellite surveillance. Electronic signals had been intercepted from the area, suggesting unauthorized communication equipment operating near the military base. Rex and I had been monitoring the site for 2 days when we finally located the entrance, she explained to the intelligence officers. "We were photographing the exterior when someone came out of the facility. They saw us before we could retreat. The attack had been swift and brutal. 2 men had emerged from the facility, and when they realized they had been discovered, they attacked Sergeant Chen with some kind of weapon that left her unconscious and severely injured. They had dragged her to the cave, probably assuming she would die from her injuries before anyone found her body. They didn't see Rex initially," Sergeant Chen continued. "He was positioned further up the canyon as our lookout. When I didn't respond to his signals, he came looking for me and found me unconscious in the cave. What happened next demonstrated Rex's extraordinary intelligence and loyalty. Rather than leaving to seek immediate help, the German Shepherd had stayed with his injured handler, somehow understanding that she needed constant care to survive. He had brought her water, kept her warm, and even tried to treat her wounds by licking them clean. But Rex had also been planning. During his care of Sergeant Chen, he had managed to remove her boot and mark it with the SOS message, probably using a sharp rock to scratch the letters into the leather. Then he had waited for the right moment to carry his desperate message to the nearest source of military help. Back at the facility site, the investigation was revealing the true scope of what Rex had helped uncover. Advanced electronic surveillance equipment had been monitoring all communications in and out of Camp Pendleton. The facility contained sophisticated computers, communication systems, and what appeared to be intelligence-gathering equipment focused specifically on the Marine base. Colonel Harrison received regular updates as the investigation progressed, and each report made the situation more serious. "Sir, we've identified at least 3 different foreign-made electronic systems in the facility," reported Major Davis from Intelligence. "This isn't some amateur operation. Someone has been conducting professional-level espionage right under our noses." The most disturbing discovery was a series of detailed maps and photographs of Camp Pendleton's security systems, personnel schedules, and operational procedures. Whoever had been operating the facility had been gathering intelligence for months, possibly years. They knew our patrol routes, our communication frequencies, even our personnel assignments, Major Davis continued. If Sergeant Chen and Rex hadn't discovered this place, they could have continued gathering intelligence indefinitely. As the investigation continued, Rex remained with Jake and the security team guarding the facility. The German Shepherd had become something of a celebrity among the military personnel, who had heard about his heroic actions. But Rex seemed to understand that the job wasn't finished yet. He remained alert and focused, occasionally moving to different vantage points around the canyon as if still on patrol. Then, on the second day of the investigation, Rex's vigilance paid off one more time. As the technical teams worked inside the facility, Rex suddenly became agitated, moving to the canyon entrance and staring intently up toward the canyon rim. His body language indicated that someone was approaching, and he was not comfortable with whoever it was. Jake immediately radioed Captain Mitchell. "Ma'am, Rex is alerting on something. He's acting like there are people approaching the canyon from above." Within minutes, the security teams had confirmed Rex's warning. Surveillance drones had detected 3 individuals moving toward the canyon from the north, and they appeared to be armed. The facility's operators had returned, probably to destroy evidence or retrieve sensitive materials. Colonel Harrison made the decision that would close the case. "All teams, we have hostile personnel approaching. This is now a security operation. I want those individuals captured alive if possible. We need to know who they're working for and how long this operation has been active." As military personnel took positions throughout the canyon, Rex remained calm but alert beside Jake. The German Shepherd had completed his mission of getting help for his handler and exposing the hidden threat, but his instincts told him the danger wasn't over yet. The dog that had started this entire operation by delivering a bloodied boot to Camp Pendleton was about to help finish it as well. The story of Rex's heroism quickly spread beyond Camp Pendleton. Military news networks picked up the story, and soon Rex became a symbol of the dedication and intelligence of military working dogs everywhere. But despite all the attention, Rex remained focused on what mattered most to him: his partnership with Sergeant Chen. The investigation revealed that Rex had made multiple trips between Sergeant Chen's location and Camp Pendleton before finally deciding to carry the boot to the base. Security cameras showed him approaching the perimeter fence several times over 2 days, apparently trying to figure out the best way to communicate the emergency to the military personnel. "This dog actually developed a rescue plan," explained Dr. Jennifer Walsh, an animal behavior specialist brought in to study Rex's actions. He assessed the situation, realized his handler needed more help than he could provide, and then figured out how to communicate with humans who could provide that help. It's an extraordinary display of problem-solving intelligence. The bloodied boot had been Rex's carefully chosen message. Analysis showed that he had deliberately selected the boot because it was clearly identifiable as military equipment, and he had somehow understood that the SOS scratches would be recognized as a distress signal. The dog had essentially created and delivered a ransom note, except instead of demanding something, he was offering to lead rescuers to someone who desperately needed help. Even more remarkably, investigators discovered that Rex had been rationing the water he brought to Sergeant Chen, making multiple trips to the stream each day, but bringing back only small amounts at a time. The dog had somehow calculated that he needed to conserve his own energy for multiple rescue trips, while still keeping his handler alive. Rex understood that this was going to be a long-term situation, Dr. Walsh continued. He developed a sustainable care routine that could continue for days if necessary, while simultaneously working on his plan to get outside help. It's the kind of strategic thinking we rarely see even in highly trained humans under extreme stress. As Sergeant Chen grew stronger, she was able to provide more details about Rex's care during her ordeal. He would leave every few hours, and I thought maybe he was hunting or just taking care of his own needs. But he was always back quickly, usually with water. On the second night, when I was really struggling with the cold, he somehow found dry grass and leaves and brought them to line the cave floor around me. Rex had also positioned himself to provide maximum warmth for his injured handler, lying against her throughout the cold desert nights. His body heat had been crucial in preventing hypothermia, which could have killed Sergeant Chen even if her other injuries hadn't. The German Shepherd's actions during the crisis had demonstrated not just loyalty and intelligence, but also the kind of tactical thinking that military strategists spend years learning to develop. Rex had assessed threats, managed resources, developed both short-term and long-term plans, and executed a complex rescue operation entirely on his own initiative. 3 armed individuals approaching the canyon had no idea they were walking into a trap. Colonel Harrison's security teams had positioned themselves strategically throughout the area, using Rex's early warning to gain a significant tactical advantage. The German Shepherd's alert had given them precious minutes to prepare. Rex stayed close to Jake, but his behavior indicated he recognized something about the approaching individuals. The dog's body language had shifted from general alertness to specific recognition, suggesting these might be the same people who had attacked Sergeant Chen. All units. Targets are approximately 200 meters from the canyon entrance, came the radio report from the observation team. 3 individuals, armed with what appears to be assault rifles and electronic equipment. They're moving cautiously, suggesting they know something might be wrong. Colonel Harrison coordinated the response from his command position. Let them get into the canyon before we make our move. I want them contained with no escape route. And remember, we need at least one of them alive for questioning. As the 3 figures descended into the canyon, it became clear they were professionals. They moved with military precision, communicating through hand signals and maintaining proper tactical spacing, but they had made one critical mistake by returning to the facility at all. Rex suddenly tensed and moved closer to Jake, his attention focused on the lead figure descending the canyon wall. The dog's reaction was immediate and intense, leaving no doubt that this was one of the people who had attacked his handler. Jake whispered into his radio, "Rex has positively identified at least one of the targets. This dog doesn't forget faces." The trap was sprung perfectly. As the 3 individuals reached the canyon floor and approached the facility entrance, they found themselves surrounded by Marine security forces who had been lying in wait. The element of surprise was complete, and within seconds, all 3 were disarmed and in custody. The lead individual, a man in his 40s with obvious military training, immediately demanded to speak to whoever was in charge. Colonel Harrison approached the detained suspects while Rex watched from a safe distance, still alert but calmer now that the threats had been neutralized. "I'm Colonel Harrison, commanding officer of Camp Pendleton. You gentlemen are under arrest for espionage, assault on military personnel, and operating unauthorized equipment on federal property. You have the right to remain silent." The man who appeared to be the leader sneered at Colonel Harrison. "You have no idea what you're interfering with. This operation is bigger than your little base." Colonel Harrison smiled grimly. "Actually, thanks to a very smart German Shepherd and a dedicated K9 handler, we know exactly what you've been doing here. We've been inside your facility for 2 days now, and we've cataloged everything." The shock on the man's face was obvious. They had assumed Sergeant Chen was dead and that their facility remained undiscovered. The idea that a dog had been responsible for exposing their entire operation was clearly something they had never considered. As the suspects were transported back to base for interrogation, Rex finally relaxed. His job was truly complete now. The people who had attacked his handler were in custody, and the threat to the military base had been eliminated. The German Shepherd sat down beside Jake and, for the first time in days, allowed his tongue to hang out in a relaxed pant. The investigation of the facility continued for several more days, revealing the full scope of the espionage operation. The 3 captured individuals were foreign intelligence agents who had been gathering information about Camp Pendleton's operations for over a year. Their sophisticated equipment had been intercepting communications, monitoring personnel movements, and even accessing some computer systems. This represents one of the most significant security breaches we've seen in years, Major Davis reported to Colonel Harrison. If Sergeant Chen and Rex hadn't discovered this facility, they could have continued gathering intelligence indefinitely. The damage to national security could have been catastrophic, but the hero of the hour was undoubtedly Rex. The German Shepherd's actions had not only saved his handler's life, but had also exposed a major threat to military security. As news of the story spread throughout the military community, Rex became famous as the dog who had single-handedly uncovered a spy ring. Sergeant Chen, now recovering well from her injuries, was finally reunited with Rex at the base hospital. The emotional reunion brought tears to the eyes of everyone present, including Colonel Harrison and the medical staff. "I knew you'd find help," she whispered to Rex as the German Shepherd gently placed his head on her hospital bed. "You're the best partner anyone could ask for." Rex's tail wagged furiously, and he carefully positioned himself next to Sergeant Chen's bed, where he could keep watch over her. Even though the danger was over, old habits died hard for a dog trained to protect his handler. The intelligence gained from the captured facility and suspects led to the discovery of similar operations near other military installations. Rex's actions had initiated a nationwide security review that ultimately strengthened military installations across the country. Colonel Harrison made sure that Rex's heroic actions were properly recognized. This dog demonstrated intelligence, loyalty, and courage that would be exceptional, even for a human soldier. He stated in his official report, "Rex's actions represent the finest traditions of military service." But perhaps the most important recognition came from an unexpected source. The 3 captured foreign agents during their interrogations expressed amazement at Rex's intelligence and determination. "We never considered that a dog could be such a threat to our operation," one of them admitted. "When we found the woman with the dog, we dealt with her but didn't think the animal was significant. We had no idea that dog would keep her alive and then somehow know to seek help." The lead agent was even more specific about Rex's actions. "That dog outsmarted us completely. It understood that the boot would be recognized as military equipment, knew where to take it for help, and then led a rescue team directly back to find the woman. We've been trained to handle human threats, but we never prepared for anything like that." As Sergeant Chen continued her recovery, plans were made for Rex to receive official recognition for his heroic actions. But for Rex, the only recognition. 6 months later, Rex stood at attention in his dress harness as hundreds of military personnel and dignitaries gathered for a ceremony that would make history. The German Shepherd was about to become the first military working dog to receive the Medal of Honor for actions that had saved not just his handler's life, but potentially prevented a major national security disaster. Sergeant Chen, now fully recovered and walking with only a slight limp, stood proudly beside her partner as Colonel Harrison prepared to present the award. The ceremony was being broadcast live, and millions of viewers around the world were watching as Rex's extraordinary story reached its conclusion. Rex demonstrated courage, intelligence, and loyalty that exemplify the very best of military service, Colonel Harrison announced to the assembled crowd. His actions saved the life of his handler, exposed a significant threat to national security, and reminded us all of the incredible bond between military working dogs and their human partners. The medal was specially designed for Rex, smaller than the human version but identical in significance. As Colonel Harrison placed the ribbon around Rex's neck, the German Shepherd remained perfectly still, as if he understood the gravity of the moment. The crowd erupted in applause, but Rex's attention remained focused on Sergeant Chen. just as it had throughout their entire ordeal. The ceremony included testimonials from various officials whose lives and missions had been impacted by Rex's actions. General Patricia Williams, commanding officer of Marine Corps Intelligence, spoke about how the intelligence gathered from the exposed facility had led to the discovery and shutdown of similar operations across the country. Rex's actions initiated a nationwide security review that has made every military installation safer, General Williams explained. The ripple effects of this one dog's heroism will be felt for years to come. But perhaps the most moving moment came when Jake Matthews, the Marine who had first encountered Rex at the perimeter fence, spoke about the dog's determination and intelligence. I've served with a lot of brave soldiers, but I've never seen anything like what Rex did. He never gave up on his handler. He never stopped trying to save her, and he found a way to communicate with us that was so clear and urgent that we had no choice but to follow him. Rex didn't just save Sergeant Chen's life that day. He taught us all something about what real loyalty looks like. The story of Rex and Sergeant Chen had already inspired changes in military working dog training programs across all branches of the armed forces. New protocols were being developed to enhance the problem-solving training for military dogs, based on the innovative thinking Rex had demonstrated during the crisis. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the animal behavior specialist who had studied Rex's actions, had written a comprehensive report that was now being used as a training manual for military dog handlers. Rex's case study has revolutionized our understanding of what these animals are capable of when faced with extreme situations, she explained. We're now training dogs to think more independently and to find creative solutions when standard procedures aren't sufficient. After the ceremony, Rex and Sergeant Chen returned to their duties, but their partnership had evolved into something even deeper than before. They had been through the ultimate test together, and both had proven themselves under the most extreme circumstances imaginable. The hidden facility in the canyon had been completely dismantled, and the area was now part of an expanded security perimeter around Camp Pendleton. A small memorial marker had been placed at the site, commemorating the discovery and honoring both Rex's heroism and Sergeant Chen's sacrifice. The 3 foreign agents captured during the operation had been prosecuted and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. During their trials, they had repeatedly expressed amazement at how a single dog had been responsible for the complete collapse of an operation they had spent years developing. But for Rex, all the recognition and ceremony meant less than the simple fact that his handler was alive and they were working together again. The German Shepherd had done what military working dogs are trained to do: protect their partners at all costs. The fact that his actions had far-reaching consequences beyond saving Sergeant Chen's life was simply a bonus. 6 months after that first morning when Rex had appeared at the Camp Pendleton fence with a bloodied boot, life had returned to something resembling normal for the famous German Shepherd and his handler. They continued their duties with the same dedication and professionalism they had always shown, but now they carried the knowledge that they had faced the ultimate test of their partnership and had emerged stronger than ever. Rex still performed his daily patrols and training exercises with the same enthusiasm he had always shown, but there was something different about him now. Other handlers and their dogs seemed to recognize that Rex was special, and he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a dog who had proven himself under fire. Sergeant Chen often reflected on those terrible days in the cave and the incredible intelligence and loyalty Rex had shown. People ask me if Rex knew he was saving my life, or if he understood the bigger picture of what he was doing, she would tell visitors. I think he did understand at least the important parts. He knew I was in trouble. He knew he was the only one who could help me, and he knew he had to find a way to get that help. Everything else was just Rex being the amazing dog he's always been. The story of Rex delivering a bloodied boot to Marine Base had shocked many people, but the real shock had been discovering just how far one determined German Shepherd would go to save his partner and protect his country. Rex had proven that heroism comes in many forms, and sometimes the most unlikely hero can change everything. As Rex settled down for his evening rest beside Sergeant Chen's bunk, his Medal of Honor catching the light from the barracks window, both dog and handler knew they had been through something extraordinary together. They had faced the ultimate test of their partnership and had emerged as heroes, but more importantly, they had emerged together. The bloodied boot that had started it all was now preserved in a display case at the Marine Corps Museum, along with photographs and documents telling the complete story of Rex's heroic actions. Thousands of visitors would see it each year and learn about the German shepherd who had outsmarted foreign spies and saved both his handler and his country through sheer determination and intelligence. But Rex himself remained focused on the future, ready for whatever challenges might come next. Secure in the knowledge that he and Sergeant Chen were an unbeatable team,